The space around Mars glowed red in the early morning light. Lieutenant Commander Olivia Wright stood on the bridge of the UEF horizon, her eyes fixed on the large screen before her. The alien ship had appeared 3 hours ago without warning. It hung in space like a jewel, its surface changing colors from blue to purple to green as it slowly turned. "They're calling us again," said Daniel Lewis from his station. He pushed his glasses up his nose with one finger. "Same message as before." Wright nodded. Her blonde hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and worry lines creased her forehead. "They." Message from the alien ship was simple but strange. The ship belonged to something called the Valkyrie Hegemony. It carried Princess Lyra-Vax, the third daughter of Emperor Zor-Kath. And the princess had one clear demand. She wanted to command a human ship, not to visit it, not to look at it, to command it. "Put Admiral Patterson on screen," Wright said. The image of the alien ship disappeared, replaced by the stern face of Admiral Frank Patterson. His gray beard was neatly trimmed, and his blue uniform was decorated with medals. "Commander Wright," he said with a nod. "The Security Council has been talking for hours. Half think it's a trap. The other half see it as our first real chance to make friends with aliens. Either way, they want you to meet with her." "Me, sir?" Wright asked, surprised. "You've got the best record for first contacts in the fleet," Patterson said. "And we need someone who can say no if needed. The princess has agreed to come aboard the Horizon to talk." Wright looked at her crew. Daniel Lewis at communications, Susan Moore at weapons, and Alan Carter at engineering. They were all good at their jobs, but were they ready for this? "Tell the princess she can come aboard," Wright said after a moment of thought. "But make it clear, we're not promising to give her a ship." 3 hours later, Wright stood in the docking bay as the airlock doors opened with a hiss. The first thing she noticed was the smell, like cinnamon and ozone mixed together. Then the princess stepped through. Princess Lyra-Vax was tall and thin, almost 7 feet in height. Her skin was pale blue, and she wore what looked like liquid. Silver wrapped around her body. Her eyes were the most striking feature, large and completely black, with no visible iris or pupil. Behind her stood 4 guards, each carrying what were clearly weapons. "Commander Wright," the princess said in perfect English, her voice musical, but with a hard edge to it. "Thank you for letting me come aboard. But let me be clear from the start. I will have a human ship under my command, or my father will. See it as a rejection of our friendship." Wright stood straighter, meeting the alien's gaze. "With respect, Your Highness, we've only just met. Maybe we should talk about why you want one of our ships before making any decisions." The princess smiled, showing teeth that seemed too sharp. "Oh, Commander, I think you'll find my reasons quite interesting." Wright led the princess and her guards to the ship's meeting room. The princess moved with grace, her silver dress flowing around her like water. The crew they passed in the hallways stared openly, some with fear, others with wonder. In the meeting room, Admiral Patterson joined them as a hologram, his image flickering slightly above the table. "Princess Lyra-Vax," he said with a formal bow. "On behalf of the United Earth government, welcome." The princess nodded, but did not sit. Her guards took positions around the room, their black eyes watching everything. "Your species is young," the princess said, looking at the star map on the wall. "You have barely left your home system, yet you have accomplished much in a short time. We're eager to learn," Wright said. "That's why we're willing to talk. But giving command of one of our ships to someone we just met, that's a big step." "Is it?" The princess turned, her dress catching the light. "My people have traveled the stars for 10,000 years. We rule 17 systems. If we wanted to take your ships by force, we could." Susan Moore's hand moved toward her weapon, but Wright shook her head slightly. "If that's true," Wright asked, "then why ask? Why not just take what you want? For the first time, the princess's confident manner seemed to falter. Because ... because that is not our way. Not anymore. Explain, Patterson said from his hologram. Princess walked to the viewport, looking out at her own ship hanging in space. The universe is vast, Admiral, and dangerous. There are species out there that would destroy yours without a thought. My father believes in building alliances, not conquering. He sent me here to ... evaluate your people. And your evaluation requires commanding one of our ships? Wright asked. Yes. The princess turned back to face them. I need to understand how humans think, how they solve problems. Your ships are primitive by our standards, but your methods ... those interest us. And if we say no? Patterson asked. Then I leave, the princess said simply. And when I return, it will not be as a princess seeking friendship. The threat hung in the air between them. Later, in Wright's private room, her senior officers gathered to talk. I don't like it, Susan Moore said, her dark eyes serious. She's hiding something. Agreed, Alan Carter said, running a hand through his red hair. But what choice do we have? If her ship is as powerful as it seems, we could give her the Wayfinder, Daniel suggested. It's old and scheduled to be retired anyway. She'd see that as an insult, Wright said, pacing the small room. No, if we do this, it needs to be a real ship, something to show respect. The Starlight, maybe? Carter offered. New enough to be respectful, old enough that we're not giving away our best technology. Wright stopped pacing and looked at the picture of the Starlight on her tablet. It was a good ship with a strong crew. I think we should let her have a ship, Susan said after a long silence. But one of us needs to go with her, keep an eye on things. She might see that as us not trusting her, Wright warned. We don't trust her, Carter pointed out. Fair enough, Wright admitted with a small smile. But we need to be careful. If she's telling the truth about her people ... then Earth's future might depend on what we decide, Susan finished for her. Wright nodded and looked again at the image of Princess Lyrovax on her screen. The alien princess stared back with those black, unknowable eyes. What was she really after? And what would happen to Earth if they guessed wrong? The air in the Horizons meeting room felt heavy with tension. Princess Lyrovax paced in front of the gathered human officers, her silver dress flowing around her like water. The 4 alien guards stood behind her, their black eyes watching every movement the humans made. Your ships may seem simple compared to ours, the princess said, stopping to look at a display of Earth's fleet. But they have something special. The way your navigation systems connect to human brains is very interesting. Alan Carter frowned and crossed his arms. Our neural interface technology is secret. How do you even know about it? The princess gave that unsettling smile again, showing her 2 sharp teeth. We have been watching your kind for longer than you might think, Engineer Carter. Admiral Patterson's hologram leaned forward, his face serious. Princess, giving you command of a human ship is something we've never done before. We would need promises, guarantees ... My father rules 17 star systems, Lyrovax cut in. We could have taken your worlds already, if that was what we wanted. She pointed toward the window where her ship shimmered against the blackness of space. That ship could destroy this entire fleet before your weapons could even lock onto it. Wright looked at Susan Moore, who gave a small nod. The tactical officer's face was grim. The princess wasn't lying. Then why ask for one of our ships? Wright pressed. Why not just take it? The princess's expression softened slightly. Because I respect your kind, Commander. Even though you are young in the galaxy, humans have done much. The Valkyrie prefer friends to enemies when possible. And if we say no, Patterson asked, then I leave, and when I return, It will not be as a princess looking for friendship, but as a fleet commander. Her words hung in the air, the threat clear. To everyone. Later, in Wright's private room, her senior staff gathered to talk about options. We could give her the Wayfinder, suggested Lewis, pushing his glasses up. It's going to be taken apart soon anyway. Moore shook her head. That's exactly why we shouldn't. She'll see it as an insult. What about the Starlight? Carter offered. New enough to show respect, old enough not to give away our latest technology. Wright looked at the plans of the Starlight on her tablet. The real question is, what does she really want with our ships? There's something she's not telling us. Can I speak freely? Asked Moore. Wright nodded. I think we should let her have a ship, but I should go with her as second in command. Keep an eye on things. Wright thought about this. She might see that as us not trusting her. We don't trust her, Carter pointed out. True enough, right? Admitted, but we need to handle this carefully. The future of relations between Earth and the Valkyrie may depend on it. The next morning, Wright met with the princess in the observation lounge. Earth hung like a blue jewel in the viewport behind them. We've made a decision, Wright said. We're prepared to offer you command of the UEF Starlight. It's a good ship, with a strong record. The princess's black eyes seemed to shine. And the conditions? I assume there are conditions. Wright nodded. Officer Susan Moore will serve as her second in command. A small human crew will remain on board. And for the first 3 months, the ship must stay within our solar system. The princess was quiet for a long moment, studying Wright's face. You don't trust me. Would you, in our position? Wright asked. A small smile curved the princess's blue lips. No, I would not. She held out her hand in a very human gesture. I accept your terms, Commander Wright. Wright shook the alien's hand, surprised by how warm it felt. There's one more thing I've been wondering, Your Highness. Yes? Why did you come yourself for this mission? Surely a princess has more important duties than commanding a foreign ship. The princess turned to look out at Earth. Sometimes, Commander, a royal must do what others cannot. There are groups within the hegemony. Not all agree with my father's vision of peaceful growth. Before Wright could ask more, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red emergency lights turned the observation lounge blood red. Unknown. Ships approaching, announced the ship's computer. Defensive systems activated. Wright's communicator beeped. Commander, this is Patterson. We've got 3 ships that just appeared out of nowhere. They're not Valkyrie, at least not like the princess's ship. On the nearest screen, Wright could see 3 sharp, dangerous-looking craft heading toward the station. Unlike the beautiful, colorful ship of the princess, these were flat black, seeming to swallow light rather than reflect it. Sundering faction. Ships, the princess hissed, her calm manner breaking for the first time. They're here for me. Who? Wright demanded. Rebels who oppose alliance with younger species like yours. They believe all other races should be controlled or destroyed. The princess grabbed Wright's arm with surprising strength. You must get me to the Starlight now. It's our only chance. As they ran toward the docking bay, the station shook under weapons fire. Crew members rushed through the hallways in organized chaos. This is why you wanted one of our ships, Wright realized as they ran. Your own vessels are being tracked. Yes, the princess admitted as they reached the airlock. Human ships use different technology. They won't expect me to run in one. They boarded the Starlight to find Susan Moore already at the weapons station, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. What's happening? Wright asked. 3 enemy vessels fighting, with station defenses and the princess's ship, Moore reported. Her crew is fighting well, but they're outnumbered. Wright looked at the princess. This wasn't about neural interfaces at all, was it? No, Lyrovax admitted. but I couldn't tell you the truth until I was sure of your character. Wright made a quick decision. More, prepare for emergency departure. Get us away from the station. You're coming with us? The princess asked, surprised. Those rebels attacked a United Earth facility, Wright said firmly. That makes it our fight, too. As the starlight broke away from the station, the princess moved to the navigation console with unexpected skill. I've studied your systems carefully, she explained, entering a series of coordinates. There's a place we can go. A hidden Valkyrie. Outpost loyal to my father. We'll be safe there. Wright shared a look with Moore, both wondering the same thing. Had they just saved a friend or been cleverly tricked? The starlight flew through space faster than any human ship had gone before. Princess Lyra-Vax had made some quick changes to the engines that Wright didn't fully understand. The stars outside looked like long lines of light as they moved. We're approaching the coordinates, said Susan Moore from the weapons station. Her dark eyes were fixed on the screen in front of her. I'm not picking up any signs of a base or outpost. The princess nodded. You wouldn't. It's hidden. The ship slowed down and came out of faster-than-light travel. In front of them was a field of large rocks and small ice planets circling a dim red star. It looked empty and lifeless. There's nothing here, said Alan Carter with a frown. He checked his screens again. Wait, I'm getting some strange readings from that large rock ahead. The princess smiled. That's because it's not just a rock. Slow to 1/4 speed and follow my directions exactly. Wright nodded to Lewis at the controls. Do as she says. The ship moved carefully through the asteroid field. As they got closer to the large rock Carter had pointed out, part of it seemed to shimmer and then disappear, revealing a hidden opening. A cloaking device, Wright said with surprise. Advanced technology. We call this place Sanctuary, the princess explained as they flew into the opening. It's a safe place for those who support my father's vision of peace. Inside the asteroid was a huge hollow space. Lights lined the walls, and Wright could see what looked like buildings and smaller ships docked around the edges. In the center floated a large command station with many windows. They docked with the central station, connecting to an airlock. When the doors opened, they found themselves in a busy control room filled with blue-skinned Valkyrie who bowed deeply. When they saw the princess, a tall, scarred Valkyrie male approached and pressed his fist to his chest in salute. Princess, we feared you were lost when we lost contact. Commander Kellinor, I present Captain Olivia Wright and officers of the United Earth Fleet, the princess replied. They have proven themselves true friends. Kellinor looked at the humans with obvious doubt. They are as simple as our reports. Sighed, Wright stepped forward. Simple enough to get your princess to safety when she needed it. The alien commander's face didn't show much emotion, but he bowed his head slightly. Indeed. For that, you have our thanks. Over the next few hours, the humans were shown displays of the ongoing civil war across Valkyrie space. The situation didn't look good. Loyal forces held the inner systems, but the rebel Sundering faction controlled key military bases and shipyards. We need something the rebels don't expect, Princess Lyra-Vax explained, pointing to a massive space station on the display. This is Forge Prime, our largest shipyard. It's currently under rebel control. And you think a human ship could somehow help take it back? Moore asked with disbelief. Not just the ship, the princess replied. Your tactics, your technology, your way of fighting is different by our standards. The rebels would never expect it. Carter, who had been looking at Valkyrie technical information with growing excitement, looked up. Their defense systems are designed to stop Valkyrie weapons. Our photon torpedoes and phase cannons work in completely different ways. Wright studied the tactical display, thinking hard. We could approach using your identification codes and they'd never expect us to be hostile until we opened fire. A Trojan horse, War said quietly. The princes looked confused. A what? Ancient Earth military strategy, Wright explained. Sometimes the advantage isn't about having better weapons, but about appearing to be something you're not. For the first time, Commander Kelliner's stern expression softened into something like respect. Perhaps there is wisdom in the princess's faith in your species after all. They spent the next day planning their attack. The Starlight would approach Forge Prime as if it were carrying the princess back from her diplomatic mission. Once docked, they would use modified weapons to disable the station's power systems, allowing loyal Valkyrie forces to board and take control. As Wright and the princess worked on the final details, Wright asked the question that had been bothering her. 1. Things still isn't clear, Your Highness. After all this is over, if we succeed, what happens to Earth? What happens to humanity? The princess's black eyes seemed to search Wright's face. If we succeed, Commander, your people will have earned something no other species has managed in 1,000 years of Valkyrie history. And what's that? True alliance, not as subjects, but as equals. Later, as the humans prepared the Starlight for its dangerous mission, Wright met with her crew in private. This isn't what we signed up for, she told them honestly. We came out here to explore, not to get involved in an alien civil war. If anyone wants to stay behind at the outpost, I won't think less of you. Moore shook her head. I'm with you, Commander. Besides, someone needs to keep an eye on our new alien friends. The tech they're showing us is amazing, Carter added with excitement in his voice. I'm not missing this chance. Lewis adjusted his glasses nervously, but nodded. Someone has to handle communications. Might as well be me. Wright felt a surge of pride in her crew. All right then. Let's go steal a space station. The Starlight left the hidden base the next day. Princess Lyra Vax sat in the captain's chair, looking every bit the royal, returning from a diplomatic mission. Wright and Moore stood beside her, wearing Valkyrie military uniforms with helmets that hid their human features. Forge Prime coming into visual range, Lewis announced from his station. On the main screen, a massive structure appeared. It looked like a giant metal flower with 8 petals extending from a central hub. Small ships moved around it like bees around a hive. Incoming transmission, Lewis said. On screen, the princess commanded. A stern Valkyrie face appeared. His uniform had the sharp symbol of the Sundering faction. Princess Lyra Vax, we had heard rumors of your capture. I see they were wrong. Commander Drestar, she replied coolly. I was never captured, just delayed by diplomatic matters. The rebel commander's eyes narrowed. And your escort vessel? Lost to engine failure, she lied smoothly. I was forced to continue my mission in this ... primitive craft. Drestar's lip curled in disgust. A human vessel. How fitting for a royal who believes in dealing with lesser species. Permission to dock? The princess asked, ignoring the insult. After a tense moment, Drestar nodded. Granted. The Archon will be pleased to have another royal hostage. When the transmission ended, Carter spoke up from engineering. Our modified torpedoes are ready. Once we're docked, I can send them directly into their main power network. Wright checked her Earth Fleet weapon, hidden under the Valkyrie uniform. Remember, our priority is securing the command center. From there, we can control the station's defense systems. And if we fail? Moore asked practically. We won't, the princess said with surprising confidence. I have seen many species across the galaxy, but none with humanity's particular mix of cleverness and determination. As the Starlight approached the massive station, Wright felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened next would change the future of human-alien relations forever. They were about to make history, for better or worse. The Starlight docked with Forge Prime with a heavy clunk of metal against metal. Wright felt her heart beating faster as the airlock began the cycle. She checked her hidden weapon one last time and glanced at Moore, who gave a small nod. "Remember," the princess whispered, "once we reach the command center, we'll have about 3 minutes before they realize something is wrong." The airlock doors slid open. A group of 10 sundering soldiers stood waiting, their weapons held ready. Their leader stepped forward and bowed slightly to the princess, but his eyes were cold. "Princess Lyrivax, welcome to Forge Prime. The Archon is waiting for you in the command center." Wright and Moore followed behind the princess, trying to walk like Valkyrie soldiers. The station was huge inside, with high ceilings and wide corridors. They passed many rebels, all wearing the sharp insignia of the Sundering faction. "Carter, status?" Wright whispered into her hidden communicator. "In position," came the engineer's quiet reply. "Ready to deploy the modified torpedoes on your signal." They were led to a large elevator that took them up to the center of the station. When the doors opened, they stepped into the command center. A circular room with control stations all around and a large holographic display in the center showing Valkyrie space. Standing before was a tall Valkyrie male wearing elaborate armor that glinted under the harsh lights. His face was scarred, and his black eyes seemed to burn with intensity. "Archon Veximer," the princess said coldly. The Archon turned, his scarred face twisting into a smile that showed too many teeth. "The Emperor's youngest daughter. How convenient of you to deliver yourself to us." His gaze shifted to Wright and Moore. "And you brought servants." Wright tensed, waiting for the signal. The princess had been clear. When she said the words, "my father's wisdom," they would act. "You believe. You fight for the future of our species," Lyrivax said, stepping forward. "But you have forgotten my father's wisdom." In one smooth motion, Wright and Moore drew their weapons. Back on the Starlight, Carter activated the modified torpedoes. Throughout the station, small explosions disrupted power systems and security. Protocols. The command center erupted into chaos. The princess revealed a hidden weapon of her own, firing with precision at the Archon's guards. Wright and Moore moved with practiced efficiency, using the surprise to their advantage. Lockdown. The entrances. Wright, commanded as Lewis, now at a control console, worked quickly to seal the doors. The Archon roared with fury, drawing an energy blade that hummed with deadly power. "You dare bring humans into the heart of Valkyrie military power?" "I brought." "Allies," the princess corrected, facing him with her own energy blade that seemed to appear from nowhere. "Something you would never understand." Wright secured the perimeter as the princess and the Archon fought across the command center. Despite her smaller size, the princess moved with incredible speed, her blade flashing. "Station defenses under our control," Moore announced. "Loyal Valkyrie forces are responding to our signal. They're boarding from the outer docking rings." The Archon, realizing his position was failing, fought with increasing desperation. With a lucky strike, he knocked the princess's weapon away and raised his blade for a killing blow. Without hesitation, Wright fired, her Earth Fleet weapon sending a pulse of energy through the Archon's armor. He staggered, giving the princess time to recover her weapon and deliver the final strike dot as the Archon fell. Alarms throughout the station announced the arrival of Loyalist forces. Commander Kellainer's voice came through the communication system. "Forge Prime secure. All hail Princess Lyrivax." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Loyal Valkyrie troops secured the station section by section. The remaining rebels surrendered. Quickly, once they heard the Archon was dead, Wright stood at a viewport, watching as Valkyrie ships of both factions faced off in space around the station. The Loyalist ships were fewer, but with control of Forge Prime's weapons, they held the upper hand. The princess joined her, still wearing her battle-damaged dress. "You saved my life," she said simply. Wright shrugged. "You would have done the same." "Perhaps." The princess turned to look out at the ships. "This victory will change the course of our civil war. With Forge Prime back under Loyalist control, we can begin building the ships we need to defeat the Sundering faction." "And what about Earth?" Wright asked. "What happens now between our peoples?" Before the princess could answer, the doors slid open, and Commander Kellener entered with Susan. "Moore." "Princess," Kellener said with a deep bow. "The station is fully secure. We've captured 3 rebel leaders, including Fleet Commander Zarveth." "Excellent work, Commander." The princess nodded. "And our casualties?" "Minimal, thanks to the humans." "Strategy?" Kellener looked at Wright with new respect in his eyes. "I must admit, I did not believe such a simple approach would work." "Sometimes the simplest plans are the best," Wright said. "Especially when your enemy thinks they're smarter than you." The princess smiled. "A lesson my people would do well to remember." She turned to Moore. "Officer Moore, your tactical skills are impressive. Would you be willing to share some of your knowledge with our forces?" Moore looked surprised, but nodded. "I'd be honored, Your Highness." "And you, Commander Wright," the princess continued. "I believe my father would very much like to meet you." Wright blinked in surprise. "The Emperor?" "Yes. When he hears how humans helped save his daughter and recapture our most important shipyard, he will want to thank you personally." The princess's black eyes seemed to shine with new light. "And perhaps discuss a more formal alliance between our peoples." Later, as Wright and her crew prepared to return to the Starlight, Carter approached with excitement on his face. "Commander, you won't believe what they're offering to show me," he said, practically bouncing on his feet. "Valkyrie engine technology. They say I can bring the specs back to Earth." "The princess seems to be keeping her word about an alliance," Moore noted. Wright nodded, but caution still nagged at her. "Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've won one battle, but the Civil War isn't over. And Earth will have to decide if an alliance with the Valkyrie is what we want." "Do you think it is?" Lewis asked, adjusting his glasses. Wright thought about the princess, about how she had fought beside them, about how she had trusted them with her life and her cause. "I think," Wright said slowly, "that any species capable of producing someone like Princess Lyra Vex is worth getting to know better." As they boarded the Starlight, Wright was surprised to find a message waiting for her from Admiral Patterson. "Commander," the Admiral's hologram said, his face grave, "we've detected multiple unknown ships entering the solar system. They're not responding to hails. Get back to Earth immediately. We may need every ship we can muster." Wright looked at the princess, who had come aboard to see them off. "Your rebels?" The princess's face grew serious. "If they are Sundering faction ships, they must have left before news of our victory here. But there are other dangers in the galaxy, Commander. Other species who may have noticed your world. And it seems our alliance may be tested sooner than we thought," Wright said. The princess nodded. "Allow me to accompany you. My ship can reach Earth far faster than yours." "I thought your ship might be tracked by rebels," Wright said. "A risk I'm willing to take now." The princess's eyes met Wright's. After all, allies stand together in times of danger. Wright nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. The fate of 2 species might now rest on the fragile alliance they had formed. "Together, then," she said, extending her hand. The princess took it firmly. "Together." The princess's ship cut through space at incredible speed, pulling the Starlight along in what she called a wake field. Wright had never seen Earth approach so quickly. The journey that should have taken days was over in hours. "Unknown vessels. In visual range," Lewis announced from his station. His voice was tense. On the main screen, 5 black ships appeared. They looked similar to the sundering faction ships, but larger and with more weapons. "Not Valkyrie," the princess said, her blue face serious. "Those are Drakkar battlecruisers." "Drakkar?" Wright asked. "A warrior species from the Outer Rim. They prey on developing worlds." The princess's eyes narrowed. "They must have detected your early space transmissions." Admiral Patterson's face appeared on a side screen. "Commander Wright, what in God's name is going on? First you disappear, then you return with alien vessels in tow, and now we have 5 unknown ships approaching Earth." "Sir, the situation is complex," Wright explained quickly. "The Valkyrie ship is friendly. Princess Lyravax is here to help. The other ships are hostile aliens called the Drakkar. We're picking up energy readings from the Drakkar ships," Moore reported. "They're charging weapons." "Earth fleet is mobilizing," Patterson said, "but we've never faced anything like this." The princess stepped into view of Patterson's screen. "Admiral, your fleet alone cannot stop them. But together we might." Patterson looked uncertain. "And why should we trust you?" "Because I saved your officer's life, and she saved mine," the princess replied simply. "And because if Earth falls, the Valkyrie hegemony loses a potential ally we cannot afford to lose." After a moment of thought, Patterson nodded. "Very well. What do you suggest?" The princess outlined her plan quickly. The Earth fleet would engage. The Drakkar ships from the front, while their vessel and the Starlight would attack from behind using modified weapons that Carter and the Valkyrie engineers had developed. "The Drakkar have never encountered human technology," the princess explained. "They won't expect your phase cannons to penetrate their shields. And they certainly won't expect a human ship to be carrying Valkyrie torpedo modifications," Carter added with pride. Patterson gave the orders, and the Earth fleet moved into position. 20 ships formed a line between the Drakkar vessels and Earth. They looked small and fragile compared to the black alien battlecruisers. "The Drakkar are hailing." "All ships," Lewis reported. "On screen," Wright ordered. A harsh face appeared on the display. The alien had gray skin, a flat nose, and eyes that glowed yellow. Its teeth were jagged and sharp. "Humans of Earth," the Drakkar commander said in rough English. "Your world is now under the protection of the Drakkar Imperium. Surrender your ships and prepare for occupation." "That's their standard approach," the princess whispered. "They pretend to offer protection while they strip a world of resources." Wright stepped forward. "This is Commander Olivia Wright of the United Earth Fleet. Earth doesn't need your protection. We suggest you leave our system immediately." The Drakkar commander laughed, a grating sound. "You have no idea what threats exist in this galaxy, human. You need our guidance." "Actually," Wright replied with a small smile, "we've already found allies who don't demand our surrender." She nodded to Lewis to cut the transmission. "Take us around behind them. We'll execute the princess's plan." The princess's ship and the Starlight swung wide, using the dark side of Earth's moon to hide their approach. Meanwhile, the Earth fleet engaged the Drakkar vessels from the front, drawing their attention. "Earth ships are taking heavy damage," Moore reported, watching the battle on her screen. "But they're holding the line." "Ready with the modified torpedoes," Carter said from engineering. "These should disable their main power systems without destroying the ships." "Target the lead vessel," Wright ordered. "Fire when ready." The Starlight shuddered as it launched the special torpedoes. They streaked across space, glowing with an unusual blue light. At the same time, the princess's ship fired weapons that looked like balls of swirling energy. The torpedoes hit the lead Drakkar ship first, causing its shields to flicker and fail. The princess's energy weapons struck next, disabling its engines and weapons. "1 down, 4 to go," Wright said. The battle raged for another hour. Earth's fleet fought bravely. though 3 human ships were badly damaged. The princess's vessel took a direct hit, but continued fighting. Working together, they disabled 2 more Drakkar ships. The remaining 2 ships are retreating, Lewis announced finally. A cheer went up from the crew of the Starlight. Wright let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "We did it," she said to the princess. "Together," the princess replied with a smile. 3 days later, Wright stood in the United Earth Government's Grand Meeting Hall. Admiral Patterson and other military leaders sat on one side of a large table. On the other side sat Princess Lyra Vax and 2 Valkyrie diplomats who had arrived from their home world. "The terms of this alliance are acceptable," said Global President Helen Martinez, signing the document before her. "Earth welcomes friendship with the Valkyrie hegemony." The princess signed next, her signature flowing and elegant. "My father will be pleased. This marks a new era for both our peoples." After the ceremony, Wright found herself alone with the princess on a balcony overlooking the city. "So what happens now?" Wright asked. Now you will help us end our civil war, and we will help you prepare for the dangers of the galaxy." The princess looked up at the stars beginning to appear in the evening sky. "There are wonders out there, Commander, and horrors. But facing them with allies makes all the difference." "Speaking of allies," Wright said, "I've been given command of a new ship, the UEF Alliance. First of a new class built with some of your technology." "A fitting name," the princess said. "And its mission? To serve as a bridge between our peoples. Joint crew, joint command." Wright smiled. "They're letting me choose my own second in command." The princess raised an eyebrow, a very human gesture she seemed to have picked up. "And who will that be?" "I was hoping it might be you," Wright said. "At least until your people need you back. After all, you did demand a human ship." The princess laughed, a sound like silver bells. "Indeed I did. And it seems I got much more than I bargained for." 1 month later, the UEF Alliance departed Earth orbit, its crew a mix of humans and Valkyrie. Commander Wright sat in the captain's chair with Princess Lyra Vax beside her as first officer. "Course laid in for the Valkyrie home world," Lewis reported from his station. "Engines at peak efficiency," added Carter with a grin. "These Valkyrie modifications are amazing." Wright looked around at her crew, human and alien working side by side. Then she gazed at the stars on the main screen, countless worlds waiting to be discovered. "Engage," she ordered Dot, as the ship leapt forward into the unknown. Wright thought about how it had all started, with an alien princess who demanded one thing, a human ship or nothing. And in getting that one thing, both their peoples had gained. Everything Dot in the vast darkness of space, the Alliance glowed like a beacon of hope, a symbol of what could be achieved when different worlds came together. Not as conquerors or the conquered, but as equals facing the future side by side.